I'm Mike Silcock, and I'm the Managing Director of Silcock Ltd, Consulting Engineers, and we are the building services engineering designers on the Butterfly, which is everything inside the building that makes the building breathe, makes it work, it makes the lighting work and makes it function as a building. Well, when we first looked at the drawings for the Butterfly, it was a sharp intake of breath. I thought to myself, normally we work with very, very aggressive developers that want to maximise their floor space, that want to maximise their return on the building, understandably. And then we've got this concept, this very open concept of a building that is like a butterfly. And it was almost, say what you see, and we saw the drawings and it was a butterfly. It wasn't just a building, a square box with a butterfly stamped on it. This is a butterfly shaped building. And my first thoughts were, we discussed this internally, was how exciting. We've got to do this job. It'll be really, really good. Well, the first time I met Mike Pickles was when he interviewed us to join the team, the design team for the Butterfly. And I was immediately struck by how full of energy the guy is. Even though at the time he'd broken his ankle and he was in a wheelchair, and I ended up pushing him around his own factory as he was discussing the project with me. And this constant flow of words and ideas, it's a bit like he's the Steve Jobs of the box world. He is a constantly moving person to talk to. Can make it hugely frustrating because he's tangential in his ideas. You focused on one thing and he's off thinking about something else, only because he's left you behind. But yeah, it's an interesting character, Mike, and as a driven Yorkshire businessman, and I don't want to use the word eccentric because I think that's overused really, but as a driven Yorkshire businessman, I think you couldn't have anybody better. The Butterfly project is vastly different from any other office building, never mind any other project. I think the standout elements on the building, on the Butterfly, for Mike, or for us, it's the first time in my life I've worked with a Feng Shui master on the design team. That has its own challenges because that brings a very oblique set of design challenges into the building, so things we don't think about. The orientation of the building, even its angle facing north, south, east or west are all critical things, and we have to incorporate that into the building. I think the other challenges we've had with the building are incorporating Mike's desire for a very clean structure, a very clean building, a very, very neat and tidy, well-ordered, internally designed building, which doesn't always work, so you have to slightly compromise your design to make this perfectly symmetrical, perfectly well-ordered building. We've used some fairly advanced software to model the building because of this huge glass facade facing south. We've had to do a lot of thermal modelling on the building to try and understand how that glazing affects solar penetration into the building, which affects the lighting design, which affects the thermal response to the building. So we've gone to a lot of effort in designing or analysing the glazed facade to make it work efficiently and keep costs within a reasonable boundary. So my aspiration for the Butterfly building would be for it to be a fully functioning office building that's unique in its sector, in the office sector, and that'll be recognised throughout the country, I think, because it's a different approach to building. Wow, well, how did I get into the engineering? How did I get into engineering? Well, interestingly, when I was at school, I was an average student, but I didn't perform fantastically well in my GCSEs. And when I came out of school, I got a job. And I worked for an engineering company, hands-on engineering. It was a lot of, if you like, a refrigeration world. It was very much hands-on in large scale, huge cold stores, huge air conditioning systems. And I got really interested in it, and you get bitten by the bug. And then I performed exceptionally well, on my part-time day release and my education. And one of my tutors on at the time, the HNC, said, you should go do your degree. And that's what I did. What does my job entail? If you think about how a team works that designs a building, we're an engineering designer and we work closely with the architect and with the structural engineer. We're an important part of the team. And it really entails making sure that the building is livable. Any building we design, it's really ensuring that you get the right ventilation, the right temperature conditions in the building. But also a fundamental part of our design is creating a sustainable environment. In terms of my day-to-day job function, or anybody in my industry, in my job role, you probably spend 60% of your time on a building site and 40% of your time designing with a pen in your hand or on your computer. Everybody thinks an engineer has to be good at physics, good at maths, and if you're not an A-star in maths or physics, you can't ever go into engineering. The biggest single attribute you can have as an engineer is creativity. If you have a creative mind, you can apply any other part of the maths and physics world to that. I think there's a general misconception that if you're not good with numbers, then you can't ever be an engineer. It's not the case. You have to be good at understanding spatially how things go on. You have to have a genuine interest in what gets constructed in the outside world.